Welcome to the Church of Obelisks. My name is Yon. Chen is a very solid and resilient support in the current patch. So here we're going to look at a 8.9k average pub game with RodjER playing POS5 Chen. And at the end of the video I'm going to have two announcements, so don't miss those, stick around to the end. And let's get into the game. So they find the two offlaners here, Slada and Tiny. These are pretty dangerous offlaners, especially if you have a hero like Drow as your carry. So this is the kill lane, Slada and Tiny, so you have to be very careful here. And accordingly here, he does not pick Divine Favor as level 1. Divine Favor is good if you have some sort of harass lane where the enemy can't really kill you, you can't really kill the enemy. In that case, you want extra regen from Divine Favor. But here it's not about regen, it's about not being killed and possibly killing the enemy heroes. So Penitence is a great spell here for this rune fight, which is why it takes as level 1. Otherwise, you can also just save the point and put it into Holy Persuasion so you can get a creep at 1 minute. But here in this game, the camp has been blocked and he hasn't seen this yet, so he's not going to be able to get any creeps at minute 1. He's sending himself out a sentry ward, which is what you often want to do. He walks past the sentry ward, actually sees it for a brief period, but doesn't actually notice it, so not going to know that this camp is blocked until later, which is a bit unfortunate. But he does see this ward, which he saw a Tiny place, so that is a nice chunk of golden experience. But he gets tossed in here into the Slada, who doesn't have bash, but it's not the regular crush, but he has the bash of the deep, so can't stun him here, and Chen survives. But you have to be very careful against this Tiny with his boots. You can very easily get killed in this lane. So you also see the Drow getting extra regen and even getting a clarity, which I don't really agree with. You're probably not going to be able to really have this going for very long in this lane. Even though against melee heroes, still you can just have Tiny toss someone at you and then your clarity gets cancelled. I think it's better just buy a mango or two. But Chen now finding the ward, that's very important, so you can get creeps at 2 minutes, because this is really the creep camp you want at the start. These creeps here, they're not that great. You can get the purge creep, which is situationally good, but not here, not really. And here this Drow is a bit of opposition here, and she's gonna die, so that's unfortunate. But you can't really do anything here. It's just a lane where you have to be very, very careful with the positioning, and it's okay to die a couple of times in this lane, as long as you're still getting decent last hits, which is the case. Drow is keeping up with last hits, but you really want to keep the dying to a minimum, because in the current patch, dying is actually quite important even at the start. So you get a Cobalt Foreman here, which is a fairly useful creep in this lane, particularly because you want to be able to run away from opponents, and or possibly also chase down opponents. So this 12% movement speed is quite useful, but generally this is one of the weaker creeps. You'd much rather have a Ghost or a Harpy or the Troll Priest. All these three are great creeps, but full Foreman is like okay. Drow doesn't quite get the kill in Slada here, but it's close, and Slada now out of region, so Chen's death was not completely in vain, but of course the lane is not looking too good. In terms of last hits, Drow is doing fine. Slightly behind here, but not too much. But if you look at the net worth, she's pretty far behind here, just because of the death here and the Slada getting killed in the assist. For the longest times, Chen's would start with a headdress right at the start, which went really well along with Divine Favor. But now the Divine Favor has been nerfed, and also headdress has been nerfed. It's still an item you can go for if you want to rush a mech, but oftentimes it's going to be better just go for Blightstone, which helps with your trading and can then be turned into a Medallion of Courage. And here in this lane, as I said before, it's not about sustain, it's about fighting, about not dying. So the Medallion is a much better starting item, and just allows you to have more room for other items. So this Tiny is actually quite vulnerable. She's at -2 armor here with the Blightstone. You can definitely do a lot of damage to him. And it's important to realize that Slada, even though the strength here, actually has a really high armor, so killing him is not going to be easy. And Slada, you're coming after the Drow, but with the Penitents, at least the Drow is safe, but Chen, not so much, so they can just run him down and kill him. Drow is once again in trouble, so as Chen, of course, you're going to go in here, you're going to slow down the Slada because he does the more damage and he has a bit of a bash. It's more important to slow down his movement speed. So Drow manages to make it out, and now Tiny and Slada are both quite low. Unfortunately, though, Tiny is able to just TP home and regen back up, but still it's definitely a 1 exchange here for the Dire up here. He's picked up the Centaur Courser, which is not particularly useful. I mean, it's a 10% damage reduction on magic damage, which is fairly negligible at the start. I mean, there's some magic damage coming out of this Tiny and so on, but it's not that important. This 10% is not that strong. He's going to do some stacking here, which is quite strong. You can definitely stack 2 camps at once with the creep and with your hero. Now he's picked up 2 nice utility creeps. Alpha Wolf with the Alpha Wolf aura, 30% bonus damage, and the Ogre Frost Mage with the Ice Armor, which is great, especially against a lane like this that can run people down. If you put this Ice Armor on Drow, she's a lot safer, and it's going to be much harder for Slada to run her down. When you're in lanes like this, it's important not to get discouraged. Just because the enemy can kill you doesn't mean you can't kill the enemy. They go for this attempt here on Slada, do a lot of damage to him. He doesn't die here, but still, they didn't use anything important. Like just the Penitents and a couple of Frost Arrows and a multi-shot, and they almost killed Slada. So this is going to make it difficult for Slada to actually stay in this lane because there's no regen now. He has to fly himself out some regen or do something. So otherwise, he's going to be low. And next time they go on him, he might just die. Yeah, unfortunately, RodjER is a bit inattentive here, loses one of his creeps, but still has the Alpha Wolf. And now he can get the Ghost. So these are 2 very strong farming creeps. Do some good right click damage, but in the early game you'd rather have other creeps. So you want to have the Harpy, which is great. Ghost is also quite good with the slow, so it's slow combined with the Draw Range is slow, and Chen's Penitence is really going to slow someone to a crawl. But this Tiny is doing quite well here. Drow just keeps dying, she's 0-3. And in terms of net worth, she's quite far behind. And just generally, everyone except for this Khoikhoi Viper is doing quite poorly. Slada's coming in here. He wants to go on Drow together with Tiny. He's going to try to go for this toss play and then toss her out. But this Slada is now in a bad spot, as is Tiny. So they get all his kills. And now we see Gyrocopter and Lycan coming in. Entire enemy team, so they go under this tower, but with the ultimate here committed, they do get the Drow. So this is on a whole still a really great fight, but just losing something at the end here. But this Drow was really underperformed anyway, so she's pretty fine with that. And now they're gonna try to claim the stack. So stacking here is a bit risky because the enemy can also take it, but Viper gets most of those creeps, so that's really good. And a nice little additional win here for the Dire. But unfortunately they're not really going to get these bounty runes at 10 minutes because they're just not in position here. So still the game's not looking too good here, but they're sticking in here. And the Drow is like a really strong hero, and it's always been a weak laner. It's always been her weak point. So even though there's this Viper who is sort of lane dominated, they also have a Drow who's not a strong laner. So the fact that the game is even is okay. So Chen has gone for an early boots, which in this lane he had to get because it's this Tiny and Slada lane. You need movement speed. In a lot of lanes you don't actually need early boots. Oftentimes you can just go for mech and then go for boots. But here you definitely need those boots, and then just Magic Wand, always an efficient item. And then next he's going for a mech. To be honest, I'd rather see him get a medallion first, because the enemy have a strong physical damage lineup with that Lycan and that Slada. So Medallion is really powerful. Like, put that on your Doom, it's going to be so much more tanky. And also just the mana region is nice because you had to go for Penitence at the start, which is quite mana hungry. So having that Medallion would be really useful. But here in this game, he's decided to go straight for the mech, and he takes this Ogre Frostmage here for the same reason. Medallion is great, Ogre Frostmage is even better. There's so much physical damage. Now, Lycan in his ultimate form is not going to be slowed down in terms of movement speed when he attacks that, but still the attack speed is going to be slowed down, which is very effective against his summons in particular, and also against Lycan himself because he just has a low attack speed because he has such a low agi gain. So Frost Armor, great against Lycan. Big fight is going on, but Chen is down at bottom. Has no way of joining this fight really. I mean, he can TP into this tier 2 tower, but he's really gonna arrive too late, so he only throws out the Hand of God and just keeps pushing the mid lane. So while his team is doing this, he secures the mid lane tower, gets the tower kill, and now he's actually going to recall the Drow, so the Drow can just get down here and start farming with that double damage. So really nice efficiency play here from RodjER. Unfortunately, here's a lack of efficiency here. You need to micro the Alpha Wolf. If it's such a low HP, you need to micro that thing. It's so important to keep that thing alive. There's so much bonus damage. So unfortunately loses that, but still Drow is easily going to be able to clear up these stacks, and also of course in the process giving Chen some extra gold because he did the stacks here on this ancient camp and also this hard camp. They just lost a fight and suspect that the enemy team is in the Roche pit, and indeed they're right, so they want to try to go and contest here. The Viper is still dead, but he can be recalled once he's alive. So we want to use that right away. You can also just click on the top here, so you don't have to go back to your base. Just click the icon at the top here. So now with Viper in here, the most farmed hero, they can contest this Roshan. Roshan is very low, and they know that Lycan ultimate has been used in the fight before, so it's not available here. So they definitely want to contest here, and they try to do Roshan themselves now. And you see Chen here, just you take over one of these Lycan wolves. You won't have all your creep slots filled anyway, so you might as well take away one wolf from Lycan. These wolves do a lot of damage, so they get the tiny. You want to be careful with Chen here. Stay outside that circle, stay on the side of the fight. You don't want to be in the center of things. You want to be the one who heals people, so you can't be the one who's gone on first. So I claim the Roshan and have that Aegis on that Drow Rancher, so that's a big win here. And when you're playing this position 5 Chen, unless you're having a really good early game, it's not really so much about doing these big micro plays with these big creeps, like setting up with a net and then following up with like double centaur stun and things like that. That's really something you can do as a core Chen or like as a support Chen if you're having a good early game. But if you're having a crummy early game like in this game, it's much more about these utility creeps. You know, handing out these ice armors with your Ogre Frost Mage, having the Alpha Wolf, which gives the nice bonus damage aura, having this set of Banisher here that can purge all sorts of buffs and debuffs. It's a lot of things on the enemy team that can be purged. So this Howl debuff can be purged. You can purge off the Blinding Light with a mischance. You can purge off the Corrosive Haze. So this is a very strong ability defensively. You can purge your allies and remove those debuffs. You can also of course use it as a slow, and there's certain buffs you can purge with this, but here it's not really applicable. I'm actually really upset by the lack of Medallion here. Such a powerful item in this game. Yeah, Vlad's is nice and all, but really you need that Medallion to keep your teammates alive when they're gone on by Lycan, when they have this Corrosive Haze on them. Such a powerful item. Yes, you can purge the Corrosive Haze, but still you want to have some extra armor. If you have the Ogre Frost Mage with this ice armor, and then you also apply the Medallion armor, people are going to have so much extra armor, it's going to be so strong. But instead it's going to go for Vlad's, which is much more expensive. And yes, the extra sustain is nice, but it's not so much about sustain, it's more about actually winning the fights. So for that, Medallion would be much more efficient. So they're going to try to go for the smoke gank, see if they can find something, but it's not really the case. So they can just go and take some of these jungle camps, take some of these creeps here. Sense of Conqueror is still decent creep because the Lycan is going to have to run at you, and Centaur is very good at discouraging that. So Drow is a bit risky here. She has the Aegis, so she can afford to die, but really if you die here, you're probably going to die twice. So it's going to be difficult to actually extricate yourself from this fight, but with Lycan ultimate actually running out, it is possible. So this fight is going quite well here. That's always the case with Lycan. Once the ultimate runs out, you can just take these fights and he's really powerless. So they just lost the Chen and the Aegis and killed 3 important heroes. We're giving them a huge net worth swing as well as the tier 2 tower. So this is the first tier 2 tower, which means that now they can take the outpost, which is very valuable. And now they can even threaten the high ground here, because the enemy heroes are still dead. But with this fortification, it's going to be difficult to actually get very much done, but still have a couple of seconds left. This is quite risky though, because with that Lycan coming in, with that Tiny, they can get run down if they're not very careful. But they managed to do it just in time. Was a lot of damage coming out of that Drow Ranger and that Viper. And so they managed to take that tower and not pay any sort of price. And in the meantime, Chen of course has started to recreate his army, and also is not neglecting stacking. That is very nice. It gets an extra bonus gold when Drow is going to clear these camps. And I feel like you should take this Evolving Ripper here. Yes, you want to leave farm to Drow, but the Evolving Ripper is actually quite powerful. And like the extra armor aura is really strong here. Like, well, just like take one of these small creeps. There's not a huge ton of magic damage in the enemy team, but still there's some from like Gyrocopter, from Tiny. So also some magic damage from Cottle. So 10% magic damage reduction is still quite useful. And yeah, it's just all about having these efficient aura creeps that each on their own is not great, but if you add 4 of them together, you add a lot of value to your team. So in this fight, they're doing quite well, but with this Gyrocopter, BKB coming in, they have to be careful. So that is a monster kill here for the Hawk, but Lycan also going down, Drow now dominating. So still going quite well now. They have a good lead, 9k lead now, and that is just sort of the power of Drow. Drow is quite a strong hero in the current patch, and even though you saw he had a really poor start, he just managed to recover quite nicely, in part because of the couple of stacks that Chen made for her, and just there's just a lot of utility on this lineup here with Chen providing all these auras and frost armors and so on. Then we have Doom, who also has sort of this similar ability where you can provide here ice armor or some sort of other aura creep to the team. And then you have Mirana with her Lotus Orb, also another ability to dispel. Talked about how many dispellable abilities there are. So Lotus Orb is very strong here, and a very powerful item to go for on a hero-like position for Mirana. So just like a really well-rounded team here, and that just really allows the position 1 and 2 to shine here. And Viper's having an excellent game, as is the Drow now. They go for a 4-man smoke. 4-man smokes are quite strong here with Chen because you can recall people. You don't want to walk in first with Chen on the high ground though. That's a bit risky here. If enemies are waiting here, you can just die instantly and then you can't recall anyone. They find a Tiny here, but Tiny is able to TP out here, which is a bit unfortunate. But they can still take this tier 1 tower now and just claim more of the map. And just having control of the enemy triangle is just always so powerful. So Chen now with a pretty decent army of utility creeps, movement speed, damage, armor aura here, and the purge. A lot of utility in that team. And Chen are finally picking up a medallion, thank Obelisk. So it's gonna have that item soon. And now they're going for another fight here. He's recalled the Viper to join the fight, and yeah, the enemy team is just not really finding the kills. And the problem with Lycan is if you don't find the kills early, you're not going to find them at all. You're going to have to run away here, and he uses most of his ultimate just to run away. So at this point, the Dire are in firm control. So now they're sieging high ground, trying to keep this catapult alive, but doesn't quite work out. But still, the tower's already taken a lot of damage, and they haven't lost anything so far. As Chen, you just want to stay back here. You're going to keep applying the frost armor here onto your cores. Now that Viper gets tossed in, but you don't go in here as Chen. You just stay here in aura range. You don't go in. You want to be in the back. So they get the tower and only have to use a BKB for that. So that's quite nice. And now they can just disengage here with the Moonlight Shadow. But they don't go back entirely. They just stick here in the triangle. They want to control that. You see Mirana TPing to the top, which is okay thing to do because they have Chen with recall. So they find out that Roshan is alive, so they do Roshan. And now they can just go back to pushing and taking high ground. So this is still a very strong lineup here of creeps for Chen. All these utility creeps we talked about. Very strong lineup. None of the particularly exciting creeps, no centaurs, anything like that, but these are not that strong in the late game. Centaurs and helmet smashers and such are more early game creeps. Late game, you're going to have these utility creeps that just help keep your teammates alive and buff up their damage. So they found a kill onto this Cottle, and now it's time to take those Raxes. And with that, they're going to end the game very soon. So this is the end of the game, but not the end of the video. As I said, there's 2 announcements, so stick around. Announcement number 1, I've created a Patreon, where if you enjoy my videos, you can support my work. I put a lot of effort into this channel, hundreds and hundreds of hours. So if you could help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. Of course, also get a bunch of cool bonuses. So I've named my tiers after various neutral creeps. In the potato tier, the basic tier, you get access to my Discord. You get live streams here on YouTube and some cool behind the scenes content. And then at the tomato level, you also get a sneak peek of upcoming content, and you get to influence upcoming content as well by having voting power and being able to make suggestions and so on. And then for sort of the more exclusive experience in the Alpha Wolf tier, you also get to submit a replay of your choice to be analyzed on the channel. So I'll make a video much like this one about a replay of your choice. Could be one of your replays probably, but it could also be some sort of replay for one of your friends or a pro replay, whatever you like. Just has to be a recent replay so you can actually download it. And then if you're very, very rich on Chen, you buy an Aghanims and get a Black Dragon. And if you're very rich in real life, you can go for this highest of tiers. And then in addition to all the other benefits, you also get 2 hours of coaching with me. So these are the bonuses, and on top of all of that, also the first person to sign up into each tier will also get a replay of their choice analyzed. So if you're quick, you can nab that $20 benefit here with just the $5, $10 tier. So that is my Patreon. Of course, my content here on YouTube will always remain free. You don't have to sign up to this Patreon, but I would really appreciate it if you did. If this channel is giving you a lot of value, you can give something back here. If you'd really like me to take a look at one of your replays but don't have any spare cash to spend on that, I have a free alternative. I'm also starting a Twitch channel. So what I'm going to do is I'll take suggestions of replays from chat, and then with a little bit of luck you can get your replay analyzed and we'll talk about it. It's basically going to be kind of like my regular content on YouTube, except lower production value but with more interactivity. For the moment I'm planning on doing 2 streams a week, so these will be on Monday and Friday at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. CEST. And if you go to this page, the schedules page, you can see the time in your local time zone. So the first one will be tomorrow on Friday, and then on Monday. Yeah, so go follow me on Twitch, and the links for everything, for Twitch, for Patreon, will be down in the description. And all is willing, I'll see you on Friday.